Okay, so I basically had a thought the other day. Is being an adult fun? Like, is this any fun? Hey, everybody. What's up, y'all? Welcome back. This is Rejuvenile Delinquency, and I'm Cassius Clay. And today we're diving into something that might sound silly at first adults who play. I'm talking toys, cartoons, cosplay, theme parks, sports fanatics, the whole vibe. But here's the real question. Are we running from adulthood or are we reinventing it? We've got my guy 3RL in the building. Say what's up to the people, 3.
What's up, everybody? I personally like the idea of reinventing it a lot more than running away from anything. But that's just my 2 cents. Hope everyone's doing well. Thank you again for joining us on this beautiful day and really excited for this one. So let's get into it when you're ready.
Yeah. Well, we're going to break down both sides of that today and kind of get into the whole term of what a rejuvenile is and maybe some misconceptions and some common thoughts about it. And we'll go back and forth on both of them to kind of see what this is. This podcast is also a complementary to a video kind of long form documentary we also are putting up on this very same topic on the YouTube channel. It's a complete breakdown video of what is a rejuvenile. So we thought this would complement it. But with that, let's break into our very first segment here on what is a rejuvenile, right? So the word rejuvenile, what's that mean? Basically, it's a grown up who still does stuff that we're told to grow out of, but they're not stuck in the past. They're doing it on purpose. It's choosing joy, choosing fun, choosing not to be boring. For me, I still watch cartoons. I'll throw on some X-Men 97 and we're big fans of Invincible here and legit just have a better day because of it. That's my therapy. What's one thing that you do now that you used to love as a kid and still do unapologetically?
For me, something I did the other day, open a pack of Pokemon cards.
Yeah. And anybody who's out there listening to this, I want you guys to think about that same question too. What's the most childish thing you've done this week that still makes you happy? I'm going to play a little bit of this podcast to kind of bring in and let it talk about the beginning of it too. And we can react to that quite a little bit. So let's get into some of this.
Yeah, that feeling, right? The weight of the week settling in, the endless notifications, and maybe just a little whisper in the back of your mind asking, hey, remember when things felt, well, lighter?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, what if I told you there's this fascinating trend of adults who are actively rediscovering that lightness? They're embracing the video games, the building blocks, the fandoms that maybe we were all told to leave behind.
It certainly makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, is this simply a case of adults, clinging to the past, or have they actually tapped into something genuinely valuable that our traditional idea of adulthood might be missing?
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we're kind of on a quest to understand this rejuvenile phenomenon. What does that term really mean? What's driving this cultural wave we're seeing?
Yeah, we should probably look at some of the criticisms too, right?
Definitely. And explore the surprising economic power behind this whole thing. And, ultimately think about what this all means for how we define being an adult today.
And to really get to the heart of this for you, we've gathered a pretty diverse range of insights articles exploring the trend, market data showing the financial side, and expert perspectives from psychologists and cultural observers.
So we're here to pull out the key nuggets, basically, help you see it from all angles.
That's the plan.
Okay, let's start with the basics then. What exactly is a rejuvenile? Christopher Noxon, who really brought this term into the conversation with his book.
Right. Yeah. He defines it as an adult who cultivates tastes and mindsets traditionally associated with those younger than themselves. So think about adults who are openly passionate about cartoons, toys, games, all that good stuff, while still.
So Christopher Noxon did write a book about Rejuveniles. So it is not a word that we made up, people. It is an actual term.
This
Uh,
just in.
Right. Well, the book's been out in there for a minute on some of the stuff, but I will also, but these terms have been around. This show used to be originally, well, it used to be arcade and TV, and then it was the Kidult show. And that word Kidult is also something that you'll hear brought up into this too. This is the book. Rejuvenile came out, I think, early 2000s, and we're going to be quoting this a lot. And this is the author up here, one Christopher Noxon. Maybe we can get an interview with him
That'd be
and
rad.
talk about the books or something in one day. But yeah, you guys, if you're into any book reading or anything, it's out there on Amazon and all of that. So I'm definitely have added it to my list. I found it in the research of making this documentary. We also have a newsletter out coming out called the Rejuvenile Report. It's on Substack, and the blog for this also companion blog that goes with this documentary and this podcast will also be on their Rejuvenile Report. And I say that to tell you guys, all we did was take that blog and feed it into this AI, and it basically created these voices and everything that you're hearing. All of the words are based off of the work from the blog that is written there. So you can do this too. And it can be an easy way to break down stuff if you're studying or anything else. And it'll make this podcast and make it sound like a podcast about whatever topic it is that you're trying to go.
And it did a really good job. Like I listened to the whole thing, and I was really impressed, honestly, with like
We're going
the
to lose our
details.
jobs.
I know. It's scary.
It's so good at this.
Let's not think about that
their
right
adult
now.
responsibilities.
Okay, so it's not about ditching the adult stuff.
Not at all. And that distinction between childish and childlike is so crucial here. Childish, as Noxon and sources like Wikipedia point out, implies immaturity or like shirking responsibility.
Right, being irresponsible.
Exactly. Whereas childlike, on the other hand, speaks to qualities like openness, creativity, a flexible way of thinking. Rejuveniles definitely seem to embody the latter. They aren't avoiding adulthood. They're choosing to engage with it, but maybe with a bit more youthful enthusiasm. They've got jobs, bills, all the usual adult things.
Right. It's not about escaping reality then. It's more like a conscious choice to keep that spark of joy alive.
Precisely. And it's interesting, it's not just one generation either. I mean, sure, millennials now in their late 20s to 40s and older Gen Z are really visible in this.
They grew up with so much of the pop culture that fuels it, right?
Absolutely. But you also see Gen X and even some boomers embracing these passions. Some toy companies actually consider fans born way back in the 60s as part of this adult market.
Wow. Okay. So across the board, really.
Seems like it.
Huh.
And interestingly, despite the age range, there are some common values that seem to kind of unite Rejuveniles. Things like authenticity, not feeling like you have to act a certain adult way if it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Creativity is a big one, too. And this fundamental refusal to just let go of passions simply because society says they're only for kids. They genuinely see play as healthy, as necessary, not just, frivolous.
You often hear terms like kidult thrown around too. Is that basically the same thing?
Yeah, generally it's used as a synonym, kid plus adult, right?
Mhm.
Someone whose interests are traditionally seen as for kids. Adultescent is another term you might hear, sometimes with a bit more humor attached.
Okay.
But it's really important to distinguish this from that negative idea of Peter Pan syndrome, which suggests a genuine avoidance of growing up and taking responsibility. That's not really what we're talking about here.
Got it. So it's not about refusing to grow up.
Exactly. As one article pointed out, Rejuveniles typically aren't refusing adult responsibilities at all. They've navigated careers, families, mortgages, the whole nine yards. They're simply making time to reconnect with those childhood joys through their hobbies. And a psychologist quoted there made a really key point. These are adults fulfilling their adult roles who also happen to enjoy play. It's far from that pathology of using play to escape from life.
Right, right. So to put it simply, we're talking about well-adjusted adults who are consciously choosing to keep that sense of childlike wonder alive as they navigate their adult lives. Like that example of the 48-year-old who's really into Hot Wheels again.
Yeah, spending actual money tracking down specific cars from old TV shows.
Exactly. And Nicole Booz, who wrote the Kidult Handbook, she really nailed it, didn't she? Saying it's not about being childish or wasting time, but about re-embracing the positive parts of childhood for healthy escapism and tapping into things we truly deeply love.
Which leads to a good question. What does this actually look like in everyday life? Can we get into some concrete examples of this rejuvenile behavior?
Sure. Well, a big one, like we mentioned, is collecting those toys and memorabilia from youth and displaying them proudly. That Hot Wheels guy is a perfect example. You see these collections on office desks, home shelves. It's like a tangible link to those passions.
Hmm. And it's not just static collections, is it? There's a lot of doing involved too. Think about games.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
These adults aren't necessarily leaving video games behind. They might be logging on to Minecraft or Mario Kart after a long day at work, or hosting board game nights. And not just Monopoly, right? We're talking complex, strategic
Right?
games.
Those big, heavy boxes.
Exactly. And don't forget the resurgence of playground games and adult sports leagues, kickball, dodgeball activities that, as Noxon pointed out, we all learned as school kids and are now being reclaimed for adult fun. It's
And
fascinating.
then you've got the whole world of make believe and fandoms. Rejuveniles are often huge fans of sci fi, fantasy, comics.
Absolutely. Think about the explosion of cosplay conventions. Thousands of adults dressing up as their favorite characters.
Yeah, they're the ones lining up for those midnight premieres of the latest Marvel or Star Wars movie, and their homes might be, subtly or not so subtly filled with Harry Potter wands or Disney stuff.
And it even extends to actively reliving those childhood experiences. It's becoming way more common to see adults at theme parks without any kids. These Disney adults, as they're sometimes called.
That's a whole thing now, isn't it?
It really is. Research has highlighted adults going to Disney World solo or just, having guilt free cartoon marathons on a Saturday. It's about tacking back into those pure, uncomplicated joys.
So, what it boils down to is this: Rejuveniles are kind of skillfully balancing the responsibilities of adult life with these pastimes that bring them genuine joy. They might be managing a team at work Monday to Friday and then spending Saturday building a massive Lego castle,
Right. It's this dual identity that maybe felt a bit unusual in the past, but it's becoming increasingly, well, normal.
which naturally leads us to the question: why? Why is this trend gaining so much steam now? What's driving this big increase in adults embracing these seemingly childish hobbies?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Why?
Okay, let's stop it there, right? That was a lot to kind of sit there and digest for a second. But what do you think?
One, like you said before, AI is coming for our jobs.
Right.
But two, I think it's very fascinating and I like the discussion. And of course, all the root and source materials, a lot of the stuff you kind of did and researched. But like
And
more
all of
and
that stuff is actually in the video or in the blog too. You'll see some of the stuff that they're quoting, or if you guys want to see some of those images, I'll bring some of it up in here. But if you guys are wondering and want to see any of that stuff from yourself or any of the quotes, that's where you guys can find.
but like the more and more we dive into the rejuvenile and rejuvenile delinquency is realizing I'm a rejuvenile myself. And it's like I've had these like, concepts and these like philosophies for a really long time. And there's always been a lot of pushback, especially the job I have and all the things that are just have become my life. And it's like it's really exciting for me to like hopefully be at the forefront of this and also like just to kind of dive into it. And it's discovery. Like I'm a rejuvenile and it fits right in, so like I love it. Like I am in love with the concept and I'm happy like this, that we're working on this whole project because of that. So I hope that answered your question, but like genuinely, like I'm stoked for the renaissance of play, if you will, that's about to take place in the next couple years.
Yeah. And as you can see, like it's just kind of exploded, I think, everywhere. This isn't just something that we're talking about, but like it's been brought up, the major fandoms that are everywhere, right? Theme parks are actually expanding. We'll talk about it when we get to the money section in one of it. Disney just pledged 60 billion with a B dollars to expand the theme park. And they're just trying to keep up with Universal, who is going even further with what they're trying to build into these theme parks.
I think,
It's just huge.
yeah, I'm sure we'll touch base on it later on, but like that's where the big light bulb went off in my head, where I was like, whoa, okay, they are paying attention. Companies are seeing this as well. It tends for, the pop culture and kind of trends tend to like, I feel like drag a little bit behind in
Right.
its sentence. So
This is one of those major things that are kind of coming up. Everything is kind of blocked off on some of the stuff I'll send, but it's coming in. Yeah, I just different types. I know that there's that connotation. People, are still trying to figure out like, is this childish? Because there's still that fight of like where things are seen, and it brought up those words, Peter Pan syndrome or arrested development, where there's this fight. Like, are
not
you
just a great
being a
show.
rejuvenile? Not just a great show. Are you being, childish or childlike? And, Bart Noxon brings that up in his book. He quotes that term. And I think that that's a great way to look at it, because that is, and we try to bring this up here as you're listening more, try to go through that distinction. It's not an idea of people who are being childish and not embracing their realities. What you're seeing is a rise amongst the generations of juveniles. The number keeps getting bigger and bigger, and I think it's seen as a response to burnout and things. But we'll get into that here, I think, in the second talk part, where we talk about why is some of this happening, So let's get into that here, segment 2. So why are we seeing more adults do this? First, stress. Burnout is real. People want joy and comfort, and a lot of that comes from childhood stuff. Second, nostalgia, right? Big time. The feeling when you open something that you loved as a kid, or you see a remake of something that you loved growing up, it's like a instant serotonin boost. Like when I heard the theme song come back on for X-Men 97, like no weed could have ever got me that high. You know what I mean? I shot through the roof when I heard that thing come back on again. And third thing I think is pop culture has made it okay. Disney adults, Comic Cons, video games with billion-dollar launches. Grand Theft Auto 6 will be the biggest entertainment thing to happen this year, and nothing will even come close. No movie. Superman is coming back to the box office, and it will get crushed by what happens when GTA, a new Nintendo is dropping this year, and it will be crushed by when Grand Theft Auto 6 drops. So entertainment is big on this. And GTA, another franchise that's been around since we were young and kind of did that rebellious tone, you know. And for example, one of the things I bring up in there is that adults now outspend kids on toys. That's wild. We're the target audience, and companies know that we're here. That's the big thing. So, have you noticed this amongst your friends group or something like that? What is something that you do
Absolutely.
now that you were told to grow out of?
I mean, taking it back to when you said like the whole Disney adults thing,
Mm,
I now it's been a few years now, and now maybe like didn't even know I was a juvenile back then, but like I used to have, it was called the Southern California Disney Pass or something like that,
mm,
SoCal Disney Pass, and it costs like, I swear it was like $25 to $50 a month,
mm.
and I would go as much as possible. Like I think I went on Christmas, obviously Halloween, and all these other like important holidays. I was spending it at Disneyland because why not? Yeah, and then you know Comic-Con, and again, I work in the gaming industry, so I see it like almost every day. And in fact, it's one of those things that's like I always try to think, and as I've been discussing the Rejuvenile and trying to like build on this concept with people, and like trying to, as you've always told me, is like most of the people we know are juveniles. But yeah, as far as friend group, man, one of my friends is the biggest collector when it comes to just like random, whether it's movie stuff or
Mhm.
Jurassic Park, dinosaurs, like all kinds of stuff that it's just like, but they're not just, the thing I think is important here. We're not talking about little tiny figurines that are just like, small and dainty. We're talking about like high quality adult type collections that are things that you would see in someone's house and be like, wow, that's really cool looking, versus like, oh, that's kind of cheesy. Like, one thing that I think that led to it a little bit too, that I think a lot of people in my friend group collected at first, was pops. I don't know if you
Mhm.
remember the huge sensation of like the pops. And I think that like was they're a little ahead of their time, but also got carried away. But They like
Pops.
transformed. Oh yeah, Pogs. Funko Pops. Pop.
Mhm.
But yeah, Pogs, man. Oh, I used to have Pogs. I didn't know what to play the game. But yeah.
Slammers.
But if you like that, then there was yo-yos, and then again, Pokemon cards happened, Pokemon games. I think a lot of those things have carried on. But yeah, to answer your question, there's absolutely just this weekend I went to the Renaissance and Pleasure Fair,
Oh
uh,
yeah, yeah. How was
which
that?
it was really good. It was a lot of fun, a little warm. But I had a really good time actually going again on, I believe, May 18th. So that gives me enough time to hold myself accountable to make content for that next time. I have some stuff I filmed, but I want to build on it. Anyway,
Excellent.
I'd also throw that in the same category of like cosplaying and stuff. I didn't
Mhm.
dress up, but boy, oh boy, it was Pirate Day, and I saw an infinite amount of pirates, and not just regular pirates, anime pirates, and all the, characters that any pirate could think of. So
All right.
it's slowly creeping its way into into culture. I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Well, let's get a little bit back into the podcast here,
Let's
and
do it.
we'll let some of this AI tell you about some of the hard work that we put into this, and get some of the stats from that.
Is the Rejuvenile lifestyle booming, say, in 2025?
Exactly. Well, it seems like a really interesting mix, a convergence of cultural shifts and generational experiences
Yeah.
that's created this moment where being an adult who loves geek culture or buys toys in their 30s isn't just tolerated, but actually
Yeah.
celebrated in many ways.
Okay, so let's unpack some of those key factors.
Yeah.
One of the most obvious ones seems to be the power of nostalgia, especially, as a way to navigate challenging times.
Absolutely. In a world that can often feel pretty uncertain, maybe even overwhelming, those familiar cartoons, games, and toys from childhood, they act like a comforting anchor, don't they?
Hmm. They bring back memories of simpler, safer times. And research even suggests that nostalgia is actually a really positive social emotion. It can help combat feelings of loneliness and stress.
And if we think about the broader context, the turbulent periods we've all gone through, economic ups and downs, global crises,
Right.
it's maybe not surprising that adults would be drawn to those nostalgic experiences that offer a sense of joy and connection to shared positive memories. The COVID-19 pandemic was obviously a huge catalyst here.
Oh, for sure. Many adults stuck at home rediscovered those
Crazy to
childhood
think about.
pastimes, puzzles, Legos, video games,
Yeah.
just as a way to cope with all the anxiety and boredom.
And what's interesting is that even as life has sort of returned to normal, that rekindled interest hasn't.
Yeah, that's another thing that I found that really pushed everything a lot was the pandemic. When the pandemic hit, that just this thing that was already kind of cooking, it was like throwing gasoline on it. And you'll see with even a lot of the numbers and everything, that stuff exploded and juvenile culture went through the roof. It's pretty amazing.
Necessarily just vanished.
It's like the pandemic almost forced a reset on this idea that play is only for kids. Adults experienced firsthand how beneficial play and nostalgia could be for their own well being.
Which brings us neatly to another key factor, burnout, and the idea of play as a form of self-care,
Yes. Modern adulthood, let's face it, is often characterized by high pressure, long work hours, money worries, the constant buzz of the digital world.
exhausting.
It really is. And engaging in these childlike hobbies becomes a really valuable way to de stress. Psychologists are increasingly recognizing play as a legitimate form of self care for adults. It's not just about having fun, it actually helps boost mood, encourages creativity, and gives our overstimulated brains a much needed break.
And this seems particularly relevant for millennials who faced, well, pretty significant levels of burnout.
Yeah.
There's this conscious effort towards seeking joy deliberately,
Right. Spending an hour playing Animal Crossing or getting lost in an adult coloring book in the evening, it isn't about avoiding responsibilities. It's more like a form of what's been called healthy escapism.
healthy escapism. I like
Yeah, it's a way to recharge so you can actually tackle those responsibilities with a clearer head. It's almost a direct response to the pressure of always having to be productive.
that. Okay, so if we zoom out a bit, we also need to think about the generational identities at play here, right?
Yeah.
Particularly millennials and Gen Z.
Exactly. Millennials born roughly between the early 80s and mid 90s, they're really at the forefront of this. They grew up during an incredible time for pop culture, video games taking off, theme parks expanding, massive comic franchises, Harry Potter, Pokemon,
All the good stuff.
all the good stuff. And crucially, they never really saw a compelling
That's right. I said it. All of our stuff is better than yours. 80s
Yeah,
babies.
late 80s for me, I guess, I suppose. But I was conscious enough by the early 90s to like appreciate a lot of things.
Well, yeah. If you're 80 baby, that means you're also a 90s kid, which means like you just hit an incredible. We had a great run, didn't we? We had an incredible
Yeah.
run.
Back in my day,
Right.
I had to connect one Game Boy to another via a USB cable in order to do anything with another person. That's when LAN parties where you went over to your friend's house and had both your systems. Not to get too far into this nostalgia factor there. But yeah, I will say, boy, oh boy, to the burnout. I think we live in a
Yeah,
what a
that's
time
one
to
of
be
the things
alive
I
is what I'll
found.
say.
Hustle culture is very much pushing the rise of rejuvenile culture. It's amazing.
reason to just leave those things behind as they got older. Unlike maybe previous generations, millennials were often told, follow your passion, and they watched geek culture move from the fringes right into the mainstream. So they carried their fandoms into adulthood as a key part of their identity.
And this is the generation that really normalized gaming as an adult activity too, isn't it?
Absolutely. The average video game
That's
player
right.
today is in their mid 30s. It's a
Yeah.
big jump from where it was just a couple of decades ago.
Yeah.
And Gen Z, who are now entering adulthood, they've grown up seeing this modeled by millennials as just normal behavior.
Right.
Plus, both generations tend to delay some of those traditional markers of adulthood, which often means more free time, maybe more disposable income in their late 20s and 30s to pursue these hobbies compared to previous generations at the same age.
Think about the Disney adult thing again. Not that long ago, someone in their 20s or 30s being really into Disney without kids, it might have seemed a bit odd.
Yeah, maybe raised a few eyebrows.
But now it's pretty mainstream. Estimates suggest nearly half the visitors to Disney World on some days are adults without children. That old stigma of grow up and do grown up things is fading because so many younger adults are part of this trend.
And even Disney has adapted, right? Offering more adult focused things like fancy food festivals, bar areas.
Exactly. They know who's spending the money.
And we can't overlook the powerful role of connected communities and just the sheer influence of pop culture itself. The internet has made it incredibly easy for adults with these childish hobbies to find each other.
Oh, yeah. Reddit, Discord, YouTube, TikTok.
Exactly. They form online communities, share their passions.
It creates this amazing reinforcing cycle, doesn't it? It's easier to stay passionate about something when you have a whole community to share it with.
Totally. And then you look at the huge attendance numbers at conventions like Comic-Con, anime expos, tens of thousands of adults celebrating these shared interests together. It's massive.
And of course, Hollywood and the media have leaned into this hard. They know there's a huge built-in audience of now adult fans who will show up and spend money on reboots and sequels.
Think about The Mandalorian. Adults buying Baby Yoda toys like crazy. Or the Barbie movie sparking that wave of
Oh,
nostalgic doll purchases. As
pause
toy
right there.
Yeah.
When I was first listening to this,
Uh-huh.
that was the first moment I was like, holy shit, that's so true.
Uh-huh.
Like, the Barbie movie was such a cultural phenomenon at the time when it came out. Unless you were going to the double feature of Barbenheimer, which, we can talk about in a whole
Barbenheimer.
another video. But my point is to just take a moment and just capture those a literal nostalgia machine. Barbie was a great to me. That was when I was listening to this the first time, I wanted to bring that up as that was a moment that at the time I didn't think about it from this perspective, but now that we're here, it's it makes perfect sense. Yeah. I
Right.
think we're
No,
onto
no, no.
something.
And on that note, I'll show you here. And this is Barbie collector Azusa Sakamoto of West Hollywood, Los Angeles. And she is quite the massive Barbie fan in here. But if you see the headline, and this is one of the sources that is out of a blog. So again, like I said, you can find all of this will be in the Rejuvenile report, or the visuals will also be in the documentary if you want to check it out. But look at that headline right there. Toys aren't just child's play. Mattel, owners of Barbie and also Hasbro and some of these other brands, Lego and others find adults bring in big business. And that's where you're hearing that's the 48 old Hot Wheels collector that you heard about in the blog that they're talking about. It's a real actual person, also from Los Angeles, Mr. Jeremy Hart, who kind of got into collecting cars that he had owned for a little bit, and then like fell into the whole collection bug with the Hot Wheels by going to a convention with his son. But these companies, Mattel and Barbie, and there's a reason that the Barbie movie was out now, because it's not only Barbie kids, but it's the Barbie adults who can bring in this revenue. And three of the big things that you heard talking about driving this force was, one, the rise of millennials kind of in power. Two, it did used to be that people a lot younger had a lot more kids. So yeah, when you had like 4 kids by the age of 30, it gets hard to have the disposable money to spend on some of the stuff. But a lot of millennials are holding back on that kind of stuff. And so they have the money to kind of do some of this. And then, yeah, the third part is also the online stuff, being having online communities and being able to go to places like Comic-Con has blown these things up. Comic-Con used to be for like the stores that sold comic books, you know, and now it's almost like a little Disneyland retreat thing in of itself. So you're just spot on when you brought up the Barbie thing, because this is all there, all of it. It's getting pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Get back
I
into it.
really do think. All right, let's jump back into it. Let's hear these robots
The analysts
talk
keep
about this.
saying
Do our
these pop
job.
culture moments directly boost toy and collectible sales among adults.
So it's this really interesting combination then. Seeking comfort in nostalgia, using play for self-care, these generational shifts in identity, the ease of connecting online, and the constant reinforcement from pop culture. It's all kind of feeding into this rejuvenal movement.
Yeah, it's a cycle. The more adults participate, the more companies and media cater to them, which further legitimizes the whole thing. It makes perfect sense.
Okay, so that naturally brings us to the criticisms.
Mhm.
Because let's be honest, you do hear pushback, right? People raising concerns when adults openly embrace these seemingly childish pursuits.
Oh, absolutely. You hear the usual stuff, don't you? Accusations of infantilization, this idea of arrested development, the whole Peter Pan syndrome argument that these adults are just refusing to grow up.
Right. Or that it's about laziness. Or,
Okay. So we're moving into this whole section here about the critics. So I think it's a good time to let's just address the haters in the room. Okay. The people that say being a rejuvenile is immature or that you're avoiding real life. But the truth is, most of us have jobs. We pay bills. We raise kids. I don't, or fur
Me either.
babies too. That happens everything. And then we make time for the joy in our hobbies. Psychologists back it up. Play helps with stress, problem solving, and creativity. It's legit healthy stuff. What do you think about the criticism out there, Three? And has anybody ever criticized you personally for being too rejuvenile?
Boy, oh boy, the answer is yes. And I mean, I think if you can't let a little criticism in, then you just live in a bubble. And yeah, you could say maybe some people spend a little bit too much time playing games, or you can go outside and touch grass, whatever. My like argument or rebuttal there would be like, you could still be a rejuvenile and touch grass. There's lots of things you could do outdoors. And two, yeah, like not only do I have a big boy job, like I've found ways to bring my rejuvenile nature into my work. I mean, to be fair, I work for a video game company. So again, there we go. So it's like, who's to say you can't play video games and then be successful? I mean, we live in a new era, and I think most people get caught up in old ways of thinking. and it's just how it is. You get to a state in your life and you're like, I need to be comfortable. And the other thing I want to really touch on is like, yeah, if we look back at my parents, my grandparents, it was just a different world. I'm gonna be an adult. I'm a man. I'm gonna take my suitcase. I have no feelings. I'm gonna make this money and come back,
Mhm.
But then it's like, what are your outlets? What are your resources? You're gonna go watch sports, or you're gonna drink with your buddies. And who's to say that was at any point like a good idea or mentally healthy?
Sports also a big ass child's game.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you really break down sports,
I say that to
everyone
people
loves sports.
all the time too. Like you're like, oh, I'm not into that gaming. I'm too adult for that. Like, fool, you run around all day with a big ass Dallas Cowboy shirt on, and anybody who votes for who likes the Cowboys is not a grown up. You should take seriously.
Yeah, exactly. I just caught the dig there. Yeah, and that's like something again projecting into the future about another episode I want to do of like the history of play and really showcasing like break down any sport you like. It's usually a bunch of grown adults taking an object and running it around or putting it in something to large fanfare and huge. To me, that's the baseline or juvenile. And you and I have talked about that a lot. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some criticisms there, but at the end of the day, I think people are just missing out on actually enjoying their lives a little bit more than just doing the 9 to 5 grind. And I
Right.
think that's really important for, again, mental health, for your like just overall satisfaction in life. So to the haters, uh, I'm going to keep this PG. Screw you guys. I'm going to keep doing me. I've really enjoyed the journey I've had so far, and I've been Rejuvenile through and through. Now that I know, as I become educated in these new, these podcasts and episodes and stuff.
Right. And to the haters, I say,
I say
let's get
you could
into
do
it.
it.
Or excessive escapism. Like if you're spending your free time playing video games, you must be neglecting more productive adult things.
Mm. And then there's the classic argument about cultural decline, that this is somehow a sign of society becoming less mature overall.
But interestingly, the actual evidence and expert opinions seem to really challenge these criticisms, don't they? Rejuveniles themselves strongly push back on the idea they're shirking responsibilities.
They do, and psychological research often backs them up. Studies indicate that the vast majority of these adult hobbyists are actually holding down regular jobs, managing their finances, meeting their obligations.
So they're functional adult.
Exactly. They're compartmentalizing, they handle their adult responsibilities, and then they enjoy their hobbies in their leisure time. As one analysis put it, these are adults with a complete professional life who simply want to have fun in their free time. Collecting Funko Pops in the evening doesn't suddenly mean you can't be a great teacher or engineer the next day.
Right.
Boom.
And psychologists seem to emphasize that this isn't about rejecting adult obligations. In fact,
You can collect Pokemon cards and still be a good parent. There's nothing wrong with it. You can binge watch and still make your company profits. It's one
Yeah,
of
you
those
can play
things.
video games in the evenings and still pay all your bills on time, and have a good credit score, and own your house or property or whatever.
I learned how to pay my rent from a game. Thank you,
Right?
Monopoly.
many rejuveniles find these hobbies actually help them recharge and de-stress so they can better handle those obligations.
It's that key difference between a healthy enthusiasm and a genuine inability to cope with adulthood. And like you said earlier, many rejuvenials are parents themselves or successful professionals. They've built a solid adult foundation and are just adding a layer of youthful fun on top. It's not either.
And the mental health benefits seem pretty significant too. Far from being bad for you, engaging in play and nostalgia can actually be really good for our well-being.
Definitely. Meredith Sinclair, who's written about playfulness, describes how it can literally light up the frontal cortex of our brains, triggering the release of feel good chemicals like serotonin. Play often leads to joy, basically, and feeling happier and more relaxed is, well, a pretty good outcome, isn't it?
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
So Many rejuveniles see their hobbies as actual self-care, a way to unwind.
Precisely. It's not about avoiding problems, but immersing yourself in a favorite game or building a model can genuinely clear your head and reduce anxiety.
I gotta say here, I have done this twice already. I got my aunt, who's pretty much doesn't see herself as a juvenile. She's a typical boomer and thinks, she's very too much older for games. And this Christmas, I got her a set of premium Legos that she could make. It was a little poinsettia plant. And she absolutely loved putting this thing together. She just went nuts over it, and it became like her own private time to grab a glass of wine and to put this kind of model together. And just recently, as is last week, I did the same thing for my mom. I got her the Lego roses, and she's doing the same thing. She didn't know that Lego did this. She absolutely is loving it, and she's putting it together, drinking her wine and watching her show. And she also does it with one of my nieces. So it's also become like an activity that they're kind of doing in together. So it is a fun way, some of these games sometimes, to just try to get your mindset in that right thing. And I also, if you guys were watching the documentary, a big fan of putting those Legos together are David Beckham. And he was on the Jimmy Whatchamacallit show, and he was talking about how he loves putting his models together. And his girl came downstairs once and was like at 4 in the morning, and he's still putting them together. And she's like, God, the box says for 11 plus. You put it together, this thing is like an 11-year-old thing. But hey, David Beckham seems to be pretty successful at what he's doing. And full disclosure here, I also have my own Lego bonsai tree here. It's you guys can see it's actually Lego. That's right.
You know what's crazy? I built that one as well.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
bought it. I bought it
Did you like it?
for my girl.
I
Yeah,
was
it
trying
was
to
really
see if I
fun.
could find the age range on here. Oh, look at the back of it, guys. It's
Oh yeah,
pretty
that's the
nice.
one. That's the one I did. I did the one with the cherry blossoms instead of like the leaves.
Yeah.
It was fun. It's a lot of pieces.
Oh, so actually it's two. I didn't even know that. You can choose, do you want to do the green leaves or do you want to do the cherry blossoms? And it's part of their botanical collection. Probably have to put a link or something like this in the video. If you guys click on it, give us some affiliate dough there. Look out for your boys. But yeah, so just as we're saying there, it also has become a way to kind of healthily de-stress from what you're doing. And, not all game stuff has to be electronic and video games. That's play right there, or your favorite card games to play. And that leads to something
Chill.
else we're going to talk about a little bit later, though. But there is a huge movement on finding ways to have fun with things that take you off of your screen, or, digital fatigue, as they say.
Yeah, I think you are on the same page as I am with that one. I have something that another whole video thing that I want to do in the future. But yeah, spoiler, it involves dragons and maybe dungeons.
Mm.
Psychologist Christine Bacho notes that play can revive positive emotions like awe and wonder, helping adults return to their responsibilities with a fresh perspective. It builds emotional resilience. That nostalgic cartoon marathon might be doing more good than we think.
And what about the cognitive side? Does playing like a kid actually make adults smarter or
Yeah.
more creative?
Well, maybe not smarter in the IQ sense, but definitely more creative and innovative. When you're engaging in imaginative play or tinkering with Legos, you're
Tinkering with Legos or playing with dragons in dungeons.
exercising your imagination. Dr. Bacho also points out that suspending reality through play can really foster creativity by putting our mental editor on pause.
Ah, interesting. Letting ideas flow more freely.
Exactly. That playful mind often becomes a more flexible and inventive mind. It's why you see things like Lego serious play and gamification being used in corporate training now. The value of play for adults is being recognized.
So
You know
Yeah.
what's crazy about that concept
Hmm.
and what is going on Thursday at my workplace?
What's that?
We're doing a Mario Kart tournament in the office. Qualifiers are in a couple days, are literally in 2 days from now.
I told you. It's in the
And
documentary.
I'm excited because little do you know this, I'm really good at Mario Kart. So yeah, I'm gonna try to
Little do you know
bring
this,
home the gold.
anyone who plays Mario Kart thinks they're really good at Mario Kart. That's why it's so fun.
You have a good point
Grandma
there,
will
but
send a red shell right up that ass.
but I
Grandma.
swear,
She'll come in and pinch them
I'm
cheeks,
good.
and then she's coming in with some turtle shells.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
didn't
those
mean to
things.
interrupt.
And no, and that just also, I was going to stop it there anyway, too, because that's also a really important part is sometimes these breaks of play can help, not just even when you're in a really stressful mood, but everybody's been in that zone where you're doing something really tough or crazy or you're worn out. And if you go and get a little plan and put your mind in a different spot, you can usually come back with a whole new attitude. That's something else I also, again, learned when I was a kid on the playground. It was called recess.
Whoa.
the idea that it's just wasting time is really challenged by the fact that play can recharge our mental batteries and even spark new ideas useful in other parts of life.
Recess.
Absolutely. And the social aspect is huge too. These childish hobbies can actually strengthen relationships, both with peers and across generations.
Also,
Well, you see strong friendships forming through shared interests, gaming.
I wonder why your work has you playing Mario Kart with the coworkers.
Right. And then just to like double down on that, every Saturday night for the last couple years now, I play. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of times it's NBA 2K, but sometimes it's this ghost game called Phasmophobia or whatever we decide to download. Me and a couple of friends just jump on, and for a couple hours, it's just a time for us to catch up, blow off some steam, and have some drinks, and you know, compete.
Yeah. And I bring that up in the video and of this, like it is a great relationship strengthener to play games with anyone, whether you're cross generational, like grandparents trying to play with their grandkids, or if you can't understand why the hell your kid plays so much Minecraft or something, like maybe play a little Minecraft or something and figure it out. You become a common kind of ground there of a thing, or it can be coworkers, or it can be significant others, or even more importantly, strangers. You know, when a group of gamers, if I just took like 3 or 4 strangers and threw them together in an escape room, they start to work together and work as a team and things like that. And you don't initially think about all this stuff like, oh, I'm scared to talk to this person or anything in like that. You kind of engage, and it's a great icebreaker to kind of work with people you don't even know, especially when that might be hard for a lot of us to kind of find ways to kind of break that kind of social stigma in this thing. So games are really great ways to kind of strengthen those social ties.
That's real.
Groups, collector clubs, cosplay communities. Playing video games online with friends can be a great way to connect despite busy schedules. As Dr. Bacho suggests, inviting others to play can enhance the pleasant feelings of youth.
okay.
And for parents who embrace kid friendly fun, it can create amazing common ground with their children. Instead of toys just being clutter, a rejuvenile parent might be down on the floor building Legos with their child, fostering a real connection, sharing those fandoms like Marvel or Pokemon.
That makes sense. And some even argue this trend could have broader positive effects on society, like making us more adaptable.
Yeah, there's that idea playful adults might be more adaptable, more open minded. The creativity fostered could lead to real world innovations. And maybe challenging traditional ideas of how adults should behave can lead to questioning other outdated norms too.
So it's kind of expanding what it means to be an adult, making it more inclusive of individuality and well-being.
That seems to be the core message. Those initial criticisms really don't seem to hold up to scrutiny. Adults who intentionally incorporate play and nostalgia often report better stress management, stronger social connections, and a happier outlook. It's not about escaping life, it's about actively enjoying it.
Like the saying goes, growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional.
Exactly that.
Okay, so we've got a good handle on what a rejuvenal is, why the trend is happening, and why the criticisms might be off base. But let's talk money. The real world impact the dollars and cents. What does this mean for the economy?
Oh, it's truly remarkable. The kidult economy, as it's often called, isn't just some niche market. It's a significant and importantly growing force that businesses are paying very close attention to.
Right. Adults are now a major chunk of toy buyers. In 2023 alone, adults apparently accounted for over 17% of all toy sales in the US, which translates to what, like $6.7 billion?
A massive $6.7 billion. And here's the kicker, that share actually increased by 8% from the previous year, even while overall toy sales dipped slightly. That tells you these adult purchasers were a primary driver of growth in the industry.
Wow. So they're propping up the toy market in some ways.
To a significant extent, yes. And this trend continued into early 2024. Get this. From January to April, US adults actually spent more on toys than the entire 0 to 5 year old demographic for the first time ever.
Seriously, more than preschoolers.
Seriously, that just underscores how important this group has become. And it's not just a
Yeah, just to run that back by you guys again, because obviously 3-year-olds are not out buying toys. What is happening there is more toys were bought in 2024 for adults intended to keep the toys than the entire segment of people buying toys from 0 to 5-year-olds. That's never happened before. That is way like, so basically adults have become the actual toy industry in a lot of ways. Your favorite toy brands and things like that know that as well. And it's crazy because this is not just a thing that's happening in America. The Rejuvenile movement is kind of big international. It's been happening everywhere. And I bring that up in the thing. And also, there's been around the world a decline in birth rates. And so I didn't realize that until I was doing this, that toy companies were in a bit of a tailspin there because birth rates had plummeted and they had no one to sell their toys to. And then Rejuveniles had kind of came through and have taken that and ran with it.
I'm
US
here
thing.
for it.
Similar trends are happening in Europe, around 16% of toy sales to adults, and Asia too. Rise of the kidult market, a global phenomenon.
Okay, global phenomenon. And what kind of toys are these adults buying? Is it just anything or specific stuff?
It's largely things with a strong connection to nostalgia and pop culture. Think Pokemon cards, Star Wars merchandise, Lego, especially those complex themed sets.
Like the Millennium Falcon that costs a fortune?
Exactly like that.
I don't know anyone buying Lego sets and buying Pokemon cards. Anybody.
Also, Funko Pop figures, even plush toys like Squishmallows. These are all brands and items that either evoke childhood memories or
Squishmallows.
connect to beloved fandoms.
And it's not just the cheap stuff, right? There's a high-end market too.
Oh, absolutely. There's significant spending on higher end collectibles, really detailed action figures, replica props from movies, limited edition dolls, items that have that.
And currently, while we're filming this, not only is spending on action toys a resurgence, action figures, but right now there's a trend of hopping on Chat GPT and seeing what you look like as an action figure. Have you guys been seeing that go around? Are you privy to that? E? Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, I'm surprised I haven't sent you my. I was a little bit ahead of the trend,
Right.
but I have a bunch of ones. You remember when I dressed up as a zombie for work?
Yep.
So I made myself into a zombie action figure. I made it on the packaging. It says Zombie 3RL. Oh, and then it included my backpack, some sunglasses, my corgi, and a little Game Boy. So I'll have to share
That's
that with you at
hilarious.
some point.
Yeah, but see, it's funny.
We're on the
Just
same
again,
wavelength.
sometimes
Yeah.
people may not be thinking this Rejuvenile thing is a big hit, but look, the AI thing breaks out. And what are the first two big things that everybody does? First, everybody does the Studio Ghibli thing, a cartoon to cartoonize themselves. And then what comes after that? Action figurize yourself two very rejuvenile things. So I think we clearly know who's pushing that movement. And again, this is the biggest tech in the world. They got over 1 million new users the day they put that out. 1 million people rushing to make Studio Ghibli and action figure versions of themselves. If you think that this is not a big thing, you're just so wrong on this.
What's crazy is like it was so heavy that they had to like limit your renders.
Yeah,
I was
you almost
messing around with
melted all of their goddamn servers making Studio Ghibli versions of yourselves. You did it, all of you. You
Yeah,
know you
that is
got some.
true.
He's not the only one with an action figure version of himself. You got some action figure versions of yourself on the phone right now, don't you? Don't you?
The internet is a wild place, man. I love it.
The
I'm here
internet
for
never
it.
forgets.
A nostalgic appeal, but also the quality and price point that appeal to adult collectors with disposable income.
Like Mattel. What are they saying?
Mattel reports that adult collectors can account for as much as 25% of their sales for iconic brands like Hot Wheels.
25% of Mattel sales comes from adults. Mattel, the brand that owns Barbie, the biggest movie of the year that it came out, one of the biggest collectors that is out there, a huge Barbie collector, is one Johnny Depp. I probably will put a picture up on the
That's so
screen
random.
when we play this. He's totally a big Barbie collector. And is that more random than the LeBron Barbie that came out this week? Did you see that?
No, and I'm very
La
surprised I haven't.
Barbie. La
That was real?
Barbie.
Wait, okay. I did see La
Yes.
Barbie. That's real. Okay.
Hold on here. We're gonna have to show it now. I gotta go to it now.
Okay. I did hear and saw the term Barbie, but I didn't know that was real. So
The La
man.
Barbie is real. Let's get in here from our friend Mr. Christopher Knox. Oops. Let's go back to Google. Let's
Google.
go. LeBron Barbie doll. And boom, he's a Ken ambassador. And
That's
here we
great.
go, people. The LeBron, this is totally real. That's right. Your LeBron Barbie doll. He's the newest Ken ambassador. You see that right there?
That's
and
funny.
he's got his king hat. Looks like he's got some beats with his signature shades on, a nice sling. LeBron James Foundation. You can put his over his ears there. We got his Nikes on. And yeah, people, there's see him here. And then this was actually the pose for it, I guess. And increasingly horrible and even more cringe photos right there. We are family. Yeah, that's so if it didn't get weird for you yet, I told you guys thinking this is not a trend? Well, there you go. You've got a La Barbie, and you just found out that total hardcore rocker, rock star, movie star Johnny Depp, big Barbie doll collector. That's
So
right.
weird.
This adult thing, I'm telling you, it's this is more thing. And I go through a whole bunch of different celebrities. Like you think that we're Rejuveniles, you should type into your local Google box and see what some of the celebrity Rejuveniles out there are doing. They're bigger Rejuveniles than we are, and they actually have the money for this stuff, you know?
Yeah. That's the dream, right?
I just told you, David Beckham, huge Lego collector.
Wheels and Barbie, a quarter of their sales for some lines.
A quarter of the
25%.
sales.
That's huge. And companies are obviously reacting to this.
Definitely. You see Lego launching their whole Adults Welcome line, these incredibly detailed, challenging models. Barbie has collector editions replicating iconic looks or collaborating with designers. Action figure companies release premium figures, often with 18 plus clearly marked on the packaging.
So they're explicitly targeting adults.
No question. It's like someone who loved Star Wars when they were 10 might now happily drop, say, $800 on a high quality replica lightsaber at 40.
Right. Okay, so that's products. What about experiences? Is this affecting leisure activities too?
Massively. The leisure and experience economy is getting a substantial boost from Rejuveniles. Think about the phenomenal growth of escape rooms. That's a multi-billion-dollar industry now, largely driven by adults seeking those immersive game-like experiences.
Yeah, and as you guys know here, rejuvenation, that's something that we're really big on and that we talk about, but yeah, it's not just about the rise of binge watching your favorite shows or anime or these things either. It's also the rejuvenalization of the places that we go to. Your theme parks are getting bigger, but look at the utter rise of things like escape rooms, which didn't even exist as an industry like a decade ago. And now there's one in every popular like community everywhere in every metro town. Or you've got rage rooms. Errol's got an excellent video on rage rooms. You guys should go check it out. Or the way that you're seeing a bunch of these entertainment spots popping up everywhere and be places being more immersive and more fun for rejuveniles is the thing to do. We don't just want a game in the house or with our friends. Companies understand now that whether we're going to the movie theaters or out to eat or anything else, we expect to be able to play there as well.
Play anywhere, baby.
Play everywhere.
Okay, escape rooms, yeah. What else?
Conventions, the sheer scale is incredible. Comic Cons, gaming expos, they draw enormous adult crowds. San Diego Comic Con regularly gets over 130,000 people, mostly adults, deep in their fandoms.
130,000. Wow.
Mm.
And theme parks. We mentioned Disney.
Right. They're
Sure.
actively adapting, seeing that huge percentage of adult only visitors. They're catering to them with gourmet dining like $100 plus meals after hours parties, more sophisticated rides based on adult.
Disney's big investments in parks. That's partly aimed at this group.
Reports suggest, yes, that $60 billion investment is partly to serve this demographic with higher spending power. And it's not just Disney. You see adult nights at museums and zoos, the rise of video game barcades, even adult summer camps, all.
I'm
What do you
here
think
for it.
about some of that, E?
I mean, I'm a fan. It's like I'm trying to think of like the original like quote. Did you? But I'll just go with "Did you know you're a juvenile?" kind of thing style.
Right.
Like, did you know? Or another thing I want to do is like, you might be a juvenile if. I think that's a fun like question to ask yourselves in the sense because it's like, yeah,
Right.
I'm a juvenile. Everybody. Hi, my name is
We're
TRL and I'm a
all
juvenile.
big rejuveniles now at this point. And what do you think about the rejuvenalization like of places and things that we're going to now?
Injected into my veins. I'm
Right.
here for it. It's really like, I think it's a lot of fun because it makes it feel like our generation is finally like stepping up to the plate
Right.
and bringing our own flavor. It's the perfect combination of all our favorite, childhood pastimes, but again, doing things in a more playful manner. And I said some of the topics that was touched on earlier about how important I think some of this is, and again, like redefining what it means to be an adult. And I think that like more than anything is like that's I think a big deal. Like, and I think I won't be understood for quite some time. And then going back to the very beginning of this about like, oh, with AI and all these things and changes to the world, it's like how much more important is play going to be as we continue to progress down the history timeline and just like looking back on, again, play across the entire millennia. It's like it's very important, and I think it's a big part of culture that I think people tend to like either forget or neglect. And we're here to remind everybody that it's okay to play. And yeah, I'm excited for it,
Right.
man. I really am.
Look at this here. This is launching, and I got a whole video for it coming out. It's launching next month officially. This is Epic Universe in Orlando. Yes, they already have a resort out there in Orlando. They've built another one, which consists of 5 big worlds. I think How to Train Your Dragon, a new Harry Potter world that's different than the one that's already out, a bigger Super Mario world, a Dark Universe world for all of the horror fans out there. And I forgot, I think How to Train Your Dragon or something. But my point is the difference in these kind of ones, they're still for kids. But if you look at it, they're pretty much built full on immersive worlds now. instead of just what we've normally been doing. If you see kind of coming into these lands, and that's what Disney is doing too, like they're taking the part of the theme park and we're actually becoming full on role playing locations, kind of merging into what's going there. So when you hear them talk about, the 60 billion Disney investment, it's to counter this kind of stuff. So not only are the places in our neighborhoods becoming more immersive and immersive experiences, but also our theme parks in our world, if you see it, that was a great shot there, is also becoming a lot more immersive and playful because people know this. We're the experience economy. We're dead serious about we'll spend more money on a memorable event than we are more about having a lot of stuff. And these
Agreed.
companies know that, and the world is going more in that direction. What you guys say?
Oh, I just agreed. And also, I've been like waiting to go to the Super Nintendo land.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, waiting. Super excited to go there.
Yeah,
I'm surprised I haven't yet, but I'm just saying I agree. I think as we move down this path of the rejuvenation,
right.
embracing everything, yeah, I'm here for it.
All tapping into that desire for playful experiences among grown-ups.
And how do pop culture moments and marketing tie in?
It's all connected. The Barbie movie is a prime example, resonated with kids and the adults who grew up with the doll, causing a big spike in adult Barbie sales. Or shows like
And the LeBrons. Don't forget them. The LeBrons loved it.
Stranger Things triggering nostalgia, driving sales of retro collectibles, even D&D stuff.
And companies are getting smarter about directly targeting kidults, aren't they?
Oh yeah. The McDonald's adult Happy Meal was genius marketing, generated huge buzz, sold out super fast, all based on nostalgia.
I remember that. It was everywhere for a week.
Exactly. You see similar things with sneak
Raise your hand if you bought an adult Happy Meal. Go on, do it.
I did it,
Go on, do it. You bought
and
one.
I tried to go back. They're gone now. They absolutely
Yeah.
are gone now. I tried again, and they were
They
gone.
sell out every time. Adult Happy Meal is a genius idea because Rejuveniles are on the rise. You're getting adult Happy Meals at your fast food places. You're getting Super Mario World at your theme parks. This is happening, people.
sneaker lines based on
Whether you like it or
cartoons,
not.
retro cereal packaging. The toy industry even uses the term kidult collectibles for those higher end items aimed squarely at adult buyers, detailed model cars, life-sized helmets, you name it.
And this isn't just a blip, right? This seems like a lasting trend.
All indicators point that way. Toy makers are building the kidult market into their long-term plans. That industry report headline really said it all. Birth rate slump is no match for kidult buyers.
Wow. So with birth rates falling, adult spending is becoming even more crucial for the toy industry.
Absolutely. It's a financial lifeline for them. And market analysts are predicting continued tremendous growth in the kidult sector. Retailers are giving more shelf space to adult focused products. These hobbies are becoming mainstream traditions.
So Comic-Con anticipation is like the new Christmas for some adults.
Pretty much. And entertainment studios will keep mining that 20, 30-year-old nostalgia. Businesses are clearly betting that Rejuvenile
Comic-Con is so big that you have to now buy your tickets a year in advance. I wanted to go to Comic-Con and
So
I
dumb.
just found out for Rejuveniles, I have to wait till September to be able to put my name on the list for us to go to the next one in 2026. So there is
Bananas.
not only is it hard to get into, it's almost raffle style. You have to hope that you can get in an entire year before you guys can go. So again, this is huge.
are here to stay. And with Gen Z hitting their prime consumer years, the future looks very strong.
So the economic takeaway is undeniable then. Kid stuff for adults is serious business. This whole feedback loop between adult demand and industry supply has really cemented the rejuvenile culture in our economy.
It's not just a few people hiding their hobbies anymore. It's millions of adults openly spending money on play and nostalgia. And that kind of economic power changes things. We can definitely expect more innovation aimed right at that inner child.
Okay, so shifting gears a bit from the economy, let's think about the deeper implications. What does the rise of the rejuvenile tell us about how we're actually redefining adulthood in a broader cultural sense.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. It feels like we're witnessing a genuine cultural shift, a reevaluation of what it truly means to be a grown up. That traditional image, uh, the serious, stoic adult who has firmly put away all childish
Right,
things.
the briefcase carrying, no nonsense type.
Exactly. That archetype is being seriously challenged by this new model that embraces joy, creativity, and self expression alongside responsibility.
For so long, there was this unspoken rule, wasn't there? Adulthood meant leaving childhood behind. It was almost like a performance you had to put on.
It really was. But rejuveniles are effectively
And I wanted to bring that in there too because, they kind of glance over it in this AI part. But if you go read pretty much the blog or we see in the documentary, one of the things we talk about is like, yeah, for a second, it almost felt like being an adult was a little bit performative. It's like, oh, you can't enjoy those
That's
things. You got to
yeah.
perform the role of being an adult. And that's not what an adult performance looks like. And so a little bit of us is just dropping that performative kind of based idea of what it is. I'm not playing an adult character or an adult grown up to into this thing. And sometimes it's been treated a little bit like that.
That's a crazy way to think about it, but it is true. You think about like there's this whole I was actually talking to somebody about this too. Is like there was this mentality of like, go to work and leave your, everything at the door. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be able to just live my best life all the time.
Right.
And I think we'll lean more and more towards places like, especially if in the job market where you could like, find places where you can have both. You can be both, a juvenile at work and at play. And yeah,
Right. Some of us have been severed. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Okay. If anytime, let me tell you this, if you've ever seen me and I'm not enjoying myself or doing something like that, that's my any. Okay. That's my any. That's not me. That's my any. I'm just not even gonna lie to you guys. That's the any. Okay. That is not me. That guy does not know what the other guy does. Okay. And I feel like I'm not the only person who's been living with the any and the outie. You send one version of you to work and then another version of you comes home. Damn it. Ben didn't come up with that. There's been a whole lot of y'all that have been living severed for a long time. Some of you are still severed. This is somebody's any is listening to this right now, don't you? You're an any right now, and you just realize that you're an any. And there's a whole nother outie of you right now just having a great life right now. And you're the any. You got to get re-severed back with that person and go have some fun because he's got a wife and a life and all this stuff out there outside and he's enjoying it. And you're just stuck in there hoping to get egg social.
I need to watch more.
Kind of got to watch Severance to understand any of that.
I saw one episode, so I like the pilot. It was enough for me to like understand at least the core concept, but I need to catch up. That's for sure.
Can I just break this whole section here really quick just to do a quick Millicek dance section? Okay. That won't make any sense. You guys won't see me. I'm just letting myself know where to put that in the actual scene. It's going to cut there to the little Millicek dance section because that was fantastic. Anyhow, back at it.
Writing that script. Christopher Noxon had that great line about the border between adulthood and childhood being like a Cold War checkpoint, once spotlit and armed, now unguarded and porous.
I love that image. The border is blurring.
Completely. That once rigid line between what was childish and adult behavior has become incredibly fuzzy. As Noxon also said, in today's adult culture, there is simply no sanction against childlike enthusiasm. We've gained a certain freedom from those older, more restrictive norms.
So there's a growing acceptance that maturity isn't defined by the hobbies you drop, but more by things like empathy, responsibility, how happy you are.
Exactly. It's contributing to a new kind of adult archetype, one that's...
And I'm just going to say that again real quick for the people in the back that didn't hear it. Maturity is not defined by the things that you drop. Think about it.
Maybe more emotionally honest, more connected to their inner child. It's becoming increasingly okay, maybe even seen as a positive thing, for an adult to love animated films, decorate their home with action figures, or throw a superhero-themed party.
Maybe it's seen as a sign of confidence now, not caring about outdated rules.
Could be. This evolving archetype definitely values joy, lifelong curiosity, and sees play as integral, not frivolous. It prizes authenticity being your whole self.
And what about potential positive social impacts? Does this make adulthood better?
Well, potentially. It could certainly make the experience of adulthood more pleasant and contribute to better mental well being. Maybe less midlife angst if you never fully suppressed your passions.
Interesting point.
It also has the potential to bridge generational gaps, like we talked about parents and kids sharing interests like Marvel or Minecraft. And who knows, maybe a culture that encourages adult playfulness could even foster more innovation and collaboration. We're even seeing some workplaces starting to incorporate more playful elements.
Of course, some people might still see an adult deeply into, say, Pokemon as somehow undignified.
Sure, that view exists. But as Noxon pointed out, traditional adulthood didn't do us many favors. That older model of suppressing your inner child wasn't exactly a guaranteed recipe for happiness or mental health, was it?
No.
Right. And Noxon says that in that book. So just to bring that back up, people who may think that that's still a little bit too immature, traditional adulthood ain't around here making everything better anyway. It's not like
No.
people running around saying, oh,
Yeah.
I'm loving this so much, dropping everything that I loved fun in my life so that I can pay bills and things of that nature.
Yeah. I am so happy I have to sit in traffic for an hour to drive to work every day. I am
Right.
so stoked to go and, yeah, it's crazy.
It's
Oh, definitely not.
And that's where the Rejuvenile movement offers a different path. It suggests you don't have to lose that spark of joy to be a responsible adult. You can have a mortgage and enjoy building complex Lego sets. That playful side might even make dealing with the tough parts of adulthood a bit easier.
Philosophically, then, it's suggesting that play, creativity, joy, these aren't just kid things, they're lifelong human needs.
That seems to be the underlying message, a more continuous view of development. And with people living longer, we have more extra years. Why not fill them with activities that bring genuine enjoyment? Experts tend to see this as a natural evolution, a sign of personal growth, staying curious, open, adaptable.
So we're really seeing a reinvention of the image of a respectable adult. It's becoming more acceptable for people in all sorts of jobs to have these vibrant inner lives and hobbies, like CEOs geeking out over Star Wars openly.
Exactly. And as more rejuveniles move into leadership positions, that cultural shift will likely become even more pronounced. The phrase grow up is starting to sound really outdated, maybe even irrelevant. Many adults are proving they can handle life and still have fun.
So the rejuvenile trend is really expanding the definition of adulthood then, making it more inclusive of play, wonder, open.
one of the things I thought about right now too in that section is I can't wait to see the first president who shows off his Lego set. Like I remember the first time I seen Obama give his own Spotify playlist or his own March Madness bracket, and it was just so real to me. It was like, oh yeah, the president can watch Final Four, right? Like yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I cannot wait for the first president that reaches up in there and pulls out a Charizard card, a Mewtwo kind of hanging from his neck. And then
Right.
I'll know
That's crazy.
we've
That's wild.
made it, Rejuvenation. We've made it.
Ness.
Yeah, it's not about regressing. It's about carrying the best qualities of childhood forward into our adult years. And the rapid growth we're seeing suggests future generations will probably see this as completely normal, just part of life.
Maybe that old archetype of the joyless, super serious adult will just fade away, replaced by people who stay young at heart.
It's possible. And as long as responsibilities are met, society might just end up being a more interesting, more fun, maybe even kinder and more creative place because of it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the key insight really seems to be this. The rise of the rejuvenile isn't about some kind of widespread Peter Pan syndrome or trying to avoid the realities of adulthood.
No, not at all.
It's much more about consciously choosing to integrate joy and playfulness into a full and responsible adult life. It kind of feels like those adults diving back into childhood passions might really be onto something valuable.
It definitely invites a moment of personal reflection for everyone listening. What about your own inner child? Are there any forgotten passions or hobbies just waiting to be revisited, maybe brought back into your life?
Yeah. And here's a final thought to really chew on. Could embracing our rejuvenile side not just make us happier day to day, but maybe also make us more resilient, more creative in navigating the complexities of this modern world?
It's a fascinating question. Ultimately, maybe we can all think about those childish things that genuinely bring us joy
Mm.
and consider how we might weave just a little more of that playfulness back into our own lives.
Again, I want to say those were robots, not real people. And they basically stole all of my work from my blog and created an entire blog out of it. They're already taking my job. They literally just took my job. They just did this. We're doing this, but they did this already. And so they've already took our jobs. And so soon they'll come and take your jobs too. Blue collar, white collar, there's no CEO smarter than ChatGPT. Stop fooling yourself. So we're all going to lose our jobs here. And then what are we going to do? Probably
You know what's
play.
crazy?
I think we
Right?
should
Probably
play.
play. Yeah. Sidebar. The female host for the AI sounds
Uh,
like this actress. Her name is Martha Kelly, I believe.
uh,
I found her voice on a show called Common Side Effects, which is an HBO show. Highly recommend it if you haven't seen it, Cassius. But anyway, it's really crazy because like I could not stop thinking about it once I realized that the AI sounds exactly like her actual voice. Anyway, that's a tangent.
Probably sent
But
it in to be trained on from there. But with that being said, so wrapping this thing up, what do you think about all of this 3RL now that we went through the whole thing? What is a rejuvenile? Did this make you think of anything? What's going on?
I mean, I've never felt more validated in my entire life, in a sense. Not to
Uh,
be being a little dramatic there, but at the same time, it's like I think it makes me a lot more passionate about what we're trying to do here with the Rejuvenile as a whole. And again, I think this was a great opportunity to like educate ourselves on what we're trying to do. And then also just very eye opening. It's like the trend is already there. I just think there hasn't been a real, common word for it yet. Obviously, the seeds have been planted with the book. And again, some lore here, like you were ahead of the time when we originally were trying to call the show the Adult Show. It's like these are things that as your big brain marketing thought process, I think you're ahead of your time. And I think we are finally right on time. Not to repeat that word too many times. Again, I
right.
did. But
And
yeah, I love it. I'm here for it, or I want to be here with you trying to really, I feel like I don't know, maybe sound pioneers of play, if you will, or like we are the early Renaissance years. I've always, not to get too full of myself or ahead of myself here, I've imagined this generation as a little bit of a digital renaissance, or maybe we call it renaissance of play. But the whole concept kind of leads into the same thesis and philosophy of like, I think we're right where we need to be. And it's just really fun to see it kind of unfold right before us.
right, right. That's just one of those things. I wanted to do and to do a really big deep dive into this because I wanted to explain what the naming convention of this was and why we call it what it is. Because the plan for Rejuveniles, or why it's called the Rejuvenile, because I'm not the Rejuvenile. 3RL isn't the Rejuvenile. All of us, the Rejuvenation. This is a content portal for the Rejuvenile out there to kind of be a place where we can kind of come together as a community. We can kind of recognize what's going on and kind of change some of those concepts around this stuff being juvenile. Again, we're not so much about that thing where it's like, oh, only be like, too young or be foolish out here. Like we're not promoting the 40-year-old virgin lifestyle,
No,
but we
by
are
no means.
showing that you can combine your love and that feeling that you had when you were a kid where things were full of a little bit more curiosity, you smiled a little bit more and you had a little bit more fun. And it's all about the balance of that, right? Sometimes we may feel a lot of stress, work, or burnt out, but of course, you feel like a innie when you've completely dropped this other half of yourself, the part that all the fun stuff that you like doing, and then all of a sudden you've given it all up, right? So I don't think that that's necessarily the answer. And I wanted to do this to show that this is a movement, not just something that we're doing online, but something that's happening internationally in America and even across generational lines. Yeah, like you heard, it talks a lot about the millennials. Like we got it from, there's some boomers out there that are rejuveniles. There's definitely some Gen X rejuveniles juveniles out there. That's where it's really started to catch on. But millennials took it full stream, but it's not going anywhere because Gen Z under us is going to be even more rejuvenile. They've grown up in a world where it was never even bad. Like they don't even know a world where comic book movies wasn't a thing, or
Wild.
a bad video game movie. So this is all just secondhand nature to them. So this stuff is going to grow, and we're going to keep looking into these things and pushing the limit. And that's why we did this episode.
Yeah. Big props to you, Cassius, for putting in the groundwork for this. I know this has been something we've been trying to do for a while, and I'm really excited to see it like finally come to life. Yeah, feels like we're just getting started. So thank you for putting this together.
Yeah.
As always.
Do you want to tell the people where they can catch you before I sign off?
Yeah. Thank you. First and foremost, thank you everyone for sticking with us on this. What I think is going to be one of our best podcasts to date. I know we say that every time, but we're going to keep growing. But yeah, I'm 3RL. You can find me across mostly. I'm on Instagram and X under it's just my name twice. So at 3RL. Easy way to find me. In fact, I'm pretty much across anything you could think of, whether that's like PlayStation Network or I just signed up for an Xbox account because of the Game Pass that Cassius so graciously sent me. Yeah, anywhere you want to find me, if you want to talk, always feel to reach out. I would love kind of connecting and would be happy to talk about the Rejuvenile or anything else. But yeah, X, Instagram, trying to think of where else I have a TikTok. I have my own YouTube channel, but it's all 3RL. But back to important business. Thank you everyone for watching us, and thank you, Cassius. Had a blast with this one.
Yeah, you got anything coming out that you're working on that you want to let anybody know about?
Let's see here. Definitely have a couple adventure videos in the editing bay that I want to touch base on. Let's see. Stuff to look forward to. I want to make some content around a couple more adventures. There's a really cool spot in Los Angeles I went to a while ago, which is a good date spot. And then I also went to the Ren Fair, so I want to touch base on that. So be a lookout for a couple more short adventure style videos. I've also been inspired by this long form concept we're working on. And I really want to do an episode in the future about the history of play. And I want to go back all the way as far as we can go and then take it all over to today. So it'd be another like long form. And then maybe this time I'll ask you some questions and work on that. But other than that, just here to have a good time and get some play in. That's for sure.
Well, definitely in for us here at the Rejuvenile. This is, like we said, kind of the first time we're doing an overall series. So there should be a matching blog post and a long form documentary that we're making. Please go on the YouTube and check out the video, you guys there. That helps with our support for the video and being able to do more of this kind of long form, in-depth content. If you guys can go like and subscribe there on the YouTube to help us get monetized, that will really push things a lot forward here. Also, we have our next episode coming out too. I'm really excited about is going to be all about the rise of the bedroom producer as far as music studios, not anything OnlyFans, not this time. No, it's going to be all about the rise of the tech and that time when guys and people could start making do-it-yourself kind of music and putting it out through the internet. So that's going to be a really great episode. We're going to try to bring on some guests and things in for that. I'm really excited about it. We've got a lot of content coming out, dropping. So I know we've been gone for a while, but we're actually gearing up for big kind of content drops. So get ready for that. And I guess we will go ahead and wrap this up here. Here's my hot take. We might be the blueprint, actually. We're not stuck in the past. We're designing a better adulthood, one that makes room for joy, identity, and connection. Millennials, we're the generation that said, I can grind and play. And honestly, that might be the most grown up shit of all. So yeah, being a rejuvenile doesn't mean you're not grown. It means you figured out how to stay human in a world that tries to make us machines, or at least replace us with them. Again, the full documentary is coming out soon, so we break down all the research, the stories, and everything. For now, just hit us with a follow and a subscribe. Thanks for putting us in your play tribe. And as always, we like to say, have health, have wealth, have fun together. And we're out. Peace.